Welcome to your favorite mythological podcast. Today's ancient civilization is Mesopotamia, and more specifically, the Sumerians. According to the National Institute of Anthropology and History, by its Spanish acronym INA, Mesopotamia was a region constructed between the Euphrates and Tigris rivers. It makes sense with the name, as Mesopotamia means between rivers. Very creative name, right? Well, nowadays that territory belongs to Iraq. Plus, did you know that Mesopotamia was divided into different regions? Well, it was. For example, the north and west were called High Mesopotamia. This region had a lot of natural resources. There was also Middle Mesopotamia and Low Mesopotamia, which lacked resources and natural frontiers. Low Mesopotamia was not favored due to the lack of rain, but thanks to its localization between the rivers, agriculture and communication were possible. Talking about Low Mesopotamia, the Sumerians established themselves in a region called Sumer. Where they came from is still a mystery, but there are some clues that they came from Asia. When they arrived in Mesopotamia, they developed several important things for humanity, like metallurgy and an economy based on agriculture, irrigation, and trade. Actually, Sumerians perfected agriculture and irrigation techniques. Furthermore, the Sumerians organized government, institutions, sacerdocy, and religious centers. Sumerians were very clever, but also creative. They specialized in writing, architecture, and arts. Can you imagine? They created the first high culture. So, a civilization with several cultural and social skills has great stories and interesting myths to learn about. From those, we can better understand how they thought, lived, and even believed. In today's episode, the myth of the descendant of Inanna. But who is Inanna? Inanna, also called Ishtar, is a principal Mesopotamian goddess. She is related to love and war, two subjects that were very relevant and controversial back then and nowadays. The goddess played a complex role in their religion and culture of those times. Plus, did you know that Aphrodite, the popular Greek love goddess, was inspired by Inanna? Well, we are sure all the background have sparkled curiosity on her myth. Keep listening to find out.
Let's take a better look at the story of Inanna. It started when one day the goddess Inanna decided to propose marriage to Gilgamesh, who was one famous demigod. Unfortunately for Inanna, Gilgamesh turned her down and made fun of her proposal. Feeling embarrassed and furious, she quickly went to her father. Inanna's father was Anu, the god who ruled the heaven, and demanded her father to send the powerful bull of heaven, Gugalana, to teach Gilgamesh a lesson. But there was a catch. Gugalana wasn't just an ordinary divine creature. He was the husband of Inanna's sister, Ereshkigal, who ruled the underworld. Inanna and Ereshkigal couldn't have been more different. While Inanna enjoyed ruling the heavens, Ereshkigal had the grim job of overseeing the land of the dead. Without having other option, Anu sent the great bull of heaven to comfort Gilgamesh. But Gilgamesh was far stronger than Anu or Inanna had anticipated. He didn't just beat the bull. Gilgamesh was able to kill and dismembrane it. So, instead of getting revenge, Inanna ended up making things way worse. Now, because of her impulsive decision, her sister lost her husband. Feeling terribly guilty about this whole thing, Inanna decided she needed to go down to the underworld to cry with her sister. But making this journey was very dangerous. Could the Queen of Heaven survive a visit to the realm of the dead? Inanna knew the risks, but she decided to go anyway. To stay safe, she took with her 7 divine powers, each represented by special holy items she wore or carried. If she lost any of these, she would become vulnerable as every other soul trapped in the underworld. Right before leaving, Inanna talked one last time with her servant Ninshubur. She told Ninshubur that if she didn't return soon, he had to ask urgently the other gods for help to save her.
Once she arrived, she found out that the entrance was highly guarded. When the gatekeeper saw her, came from Ereshkigal about her sister arriving However, she was able to pass through if she gave up one of the symbols of power to which God. At the moment she passed through the last gate, she was completely exposed, just like any other soul in her. Even though Inanna was very beautiful, she to her sister throne and celebrated. It was not to the liking of the 7 judges in the army. They decided to torture her idol started to decompose and her remains were cooked. When her servant Ninshuru noticed she wasn't returning, he prayed to Gadesh himself. Since the god of wisdom and water was the only one to answer his prayers, and sent Galakura and Purja, his troops, sacrificed everything to reach Nana. When they found the remains of her body, one of them placed a black cloth on the body, while the other was covered in dirt and left in the water, disturbing the water. However, the body of the monster of the Gaza was restored to the water, restored since it was destroyed.
And so, Inanna descended from the underworld. But she was not alone. A lot of demons followed close behind. They had one purpose: to claim a soul to replace their own. At first, Inanna was refusing to condemn anyone in her place. She passed through many people and, at last, found her husband, Dumusid. But instead of finding a man with grief, she saw him sitting comfortably, surrounded by music and laugh, with no trace of pain or grieving process. Her anger fastened her decision. She turned to the demons, pointing at him. "Take him, he will descend in my place." So the demons took him, but his suffering did not go unnoticed. His sister loved him deeply and could not handle the thought of him being trapped forever. She begged Inanna, offering herself in his place. So they made a deal. Dumusid nor his sister would not remain in the underworld forever. Instead, they would share the burden, dividing the year between them. For half the year, each of them will be living on the underworld. And through this endless cycle of descent and return, the seasons of the year were born. The world was warmed in colors of spring when Dumusid was up, and the cold and darkness of the winter when he was forced to return to the underworld. So that's how the balance between life and death was maintained, and the changing of the seasons became a reflection of the sacrifices made by the gods and mortals alike.
The myth provides deep insights into the mythical thinking of ancient civilizations, showing how myths serve as frameworks for understanding natural phenomena, moral values, social structures, and the complexity of human experience by exploring themes of life, death, and renewal. This myth holds lasting significance for understanding early cultural and religious ideologies. One of the most notable aspects of this myth is its connections to symbolism and natural cycles. The narrative closely ties to the agricultural life, specifically the changing seasons that dictated the rhythm of early societies. The myth also offers profound moral and ethical lessons. It delves into timeless themes such as pride, guilt, loss, and redemption, which were critical for shaping human behavior and maintaining social cohesion.